Powering a change to the Circular Economy Conference brought together people from business, research, not-for-profit and government. In this next video, you'll see a researcher from the not-for-profit sector with a researcher from one of Australia's leading institutions on this, the University of Technology of Sydney, talking about the role of food waste in a circular economy. Enjoy.
Hi, my name is Melita Jasbeck. I'm from Institute for Sustainable Futures at UTS in Sydney. Our institute does a wide range of research in sustainability. However, today we're going to talk a bit about food and particularly food waste.
Hi, I'm Sean O'Malley. I'm the research manager for Planet Ark, and my role is just to find out what's happening out there and try and translate it into something that consumers and businesses can use. And food waste is one of those issues that we're currently very interested in. Do you want to enlighten me about your research a bit?
Just recently we did this project on food waste for a little council in South Australia called City of Playford. It's just northern of Adelaide. And what was interesting for them is that despite all of Adelaide is achieving really good diversion rates, this council is achieving very low diversion rates, and they were below 40%. And if you go and open their red bin, what you discover that almost 35% of the waste is food. So we were looking at options how to help them to remove the food from the red bin. And what I was particularly interested at is diversion rate the answer for a circular economy, or do we need to look at other parameters?
Okay, so we're looking at diverting food waste from landfill. What can we do with it? What's the alternatives?
Well, the one thing that they do, the best they can do on landfill, is they just collect the gas that is generated, and sometimes they just flare it, which means they burn it, because food, when it breaks down, makes methane, and methane is a strong greenhouse gas, so you would like it, you don't want it. It's even worse than CO2.
Yep.
So, or you could do, what you can do, you could also generate electricity out of it, and some places they do that. The other alternative, which is a little bit more acceptable in Australia, is composting. So when I say composting, I'm talking about industrial composting. Yep. But that poses a problem that the gases are still emitted into atmosphere. And something that is more widely used in Europe is anaerobic digestion. So that's another thing that you can do with food waste.
So the good thing about these technologies is that we're not actually throwing stuff in landfill and hoping for the best to capture the methane. We're actually using the materials to generate energy or put the nutrients back in the soil.
Yes.
And that's the circular element of the
That's
composting
right.
thing. So, any thoughts of which directions we need to be going? What are the complications?
Well, one of the main issue with waste is the contamination. So the big ends, if you could solve that, you could separate your waste at the source, meaning in the household, and correctly, and didn't contaminate it, then you can quite easily apply a technology that would be the best to provide to fulfill circular economy parameters, as well as provide the best outcome.
Yeah, and we talked about that contamination, and that's a real issue, and it's sort of stopping a lot of processes working efficiently. Working at a local level, is that one of the options to do? So rather than transport this stuff to big compost farms or huge anaerobic digestion, is there local options that we might be able to solve it better?
Well, I think anaerobic digester in itself is kind of a neat technology because it's so scalable. It can be very small or it can be huge.
Yep.
And maybe we can learn a lot from a smaller scale process. Or perhaps we could do a combination of technologies where we would feed from one stream into another, and in such a way, more like a chemical process. Then we would, at the end, extract both the nutrients and the energy and that would be
Because
ideal.
that's the critical bit, is being able to take those nutrients and put them back into the soil where the original food came from, and just close that loop as
That's
true
right.
circular thinking.
Yes,
Yeah.
because if we move ourselves back 500 years ago, that was pretty much what happened.
Yeah. At the moment, a lot of that stuff just gets wasted, and we're losing those nutrients either into the ground or down the river, and we want to put them back on the crop. Yeah.
And just to give a bit of an idea, for example, in Australia, we waste, it's been estimated $20 billion in food waste.
That's huge.
It's huge.
Yeah, and
yes.
that's a fertiliser waiting to happen.
That's right. And that not to take into account how much money and what an environmental footprint was to generate that food, which just went to waste.
So what next? What's your next bit of research?
I don't know. I think I would like some of the theory to get into practice. I'd like to get into human psyche and get them to behave better.
And I think that's the identified bit, is the behaviour, that we've got to change the behaviour for clean food waste, not waste as much, change all those elements and change the system. Yeah.
Yes, agree.
Okay.